She was standing under the flickering gas station light, one hand on her swollen belly, the other gripping a crumpled ultrasound photo like it was the last thing holding her together. Cars rushed past. Rain soaked her thin sweater. And when she finally whispered, "I don't know where to go," her voice broke in a way that made a stranger stop mid-step. Before we get into what happened that night, if stories about simple acts of kindness and unexpected connections warm your heart, make sure you're subscribed to Kindness Teles. Like the video and share your thoughts in the comments, because you never know whose life your words might brighten. It was close to midnight when Mark pulled into that gas station off Route 17, the kind of place you only stopped at when your tank was nearly empty and you didn't feel like driving another mile. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The parking lot was half empty except for a delivery truck and an old sedan with a flat tire. Mark killed the engine and sat there for a moment, staring at the dashboard. The low fuel light blinked back at him like a quiet accusation. He rubbed his eyes and checked the time. Too late. His 6-year-old son would already be asleep at his sister's house. Another missed bedtime story. Life lately had felt like that blinking light. Always running on empty. During the day, he worked maintenance at a large office building downtown, fixing broken pipes, changing filters, hauling trash no one else wanted to touch. At night, he picked up rideshare shifts to make ends meet. Since his wife passed 3 years ago, everything had been about survival. Rent. School lunches. Shoes that didn't have holes. He didn't complain. He didn't have the energy to. People saw him in his faded hoodie and old pickup truck and assumed he was just another tired guy scraping by. They weren't wrong. He stepped out, stretched his stiff back, and started pumping gas. The air smelled like wet asphalt and gasoline. A cold drizzle clung to everything. That's when he noticed her. She was standing near the vending machine by the wall, almost hidden in the shadows. Young, maybe mid-20s. Hair soaked. Arms wrapped around herself. Her belly rounded under a thin sweater, unmistakably pregnant. She looked out of place, like someone who had taken a wrong turn in life and ended up here by accident. At first he figured she was waiting for a ride. Then he saw her face. Not angry. Not impatient. Scared. She kept staring at the road like she expected someone to show up, then looking down at that photo in her hand. Her shoulders trembled. Mark tried to mind his business. It wasn't his place. The world had taught him that stepping into strangers' problems usually meant trouble. But something tugged at him. Maybe it was the way she wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed even though no one was watching. Maybe it was because he remembered sitting in a hospital hallway years ago, holding his newborn son alone, feeling just as lost. He finished pumping and told himself to leave. Instead, his feet walked toward her. Up close, she looked even younger. Exhausted. Pale. Like she hadn't slept in days. He kept his voice soft. Asked if she was okay. She tried to smile and said she was fine, but the word cracked halfway through. He nodded, not pushing. Said the station closed soon and it wasn't the safest place to be alone at night. Asked if she needed a ride somewhere. Her eyes filled instantly, like someone had finally given her permission to fall apart. She shook her head, then nodded, then shook it again. Finally she whispered that she didn't know where to go. He waited. The story came out in pieces. She had left the hospital after an appointment. Her boyfriend had stormed out earlier that day after an argument about money and responsibility. He'd taken the car they shared. Her phone battery had died. No cash. No family nearby. The last bus had already stopped running. She said it like she was ashamed, like ending up stranded at a gas station at midnight was some personal failure. Mark recognized that tone. He'd used it himself plenty of times. He told her he could drive her somewhere safe. A shelter. A friend's place. Anywhere she chose. She hesitated, looking him up and down, measuring risk. He probably didn't look very trustworthy in his grease-stained jacket. So he did the only thing he could think of. He pulled out his phone and showed her the lock screen photo of his son, missing front teeth, holding a soccer ball bigger than his head. "That's my kid," he said quietly. "I wouldn't want anyone leaving him or his mom alone like this." Something in her expression softened. She got into the truck. The heater blasted warm air that smelled faintly of old coffee. She sighed like she'd been holding her breath all night. They drove in silence at first. Rain ticked against the windshield. The radio hummed low. He asked if she'd eaten. She admitted she hadn't since morning. So he made an unexpected turn into a 24-hour diner. Inside, everything was bright and greasy and comforting. The smell of bacon and pancakes wrapped around them. He ordered her soup, toast, and a milkshake because he remembered his wife craving those when she was pregnant. She protested. Said she couldn't let him pay. He shrugged and said it wasn't a big deal. But for him, it kind of was. That was half his gas money for the week. Still, watching her hands shake as she held the spoon, like she hadn't tasted real food in hours, made it worth it. She started talking more. About how she'd moved to the city for work. About how everything had spiraled. About how scared she was to bring a baby into such chaos. At one point she pressed her hand to her belly and whispered that she felt like she was already failing as a mother. Mark leaned back and told her something simple. That good parents worry. Bad ones don't. She stared at him like he'd handed her something precious. After they ate, he drove her to a small women's shelter he knew about from church donations. He walked her inside, made sure they had space, and spoke to the night manager. Before leaving, he slipped a folded 20 into her hand. She tried to give it back. Said he'd already done too much. He smiled and said, "Just pay it forward someday." She surprised him by hugging him tight. He felt her shoulders shake against his chest. Then he left, figuring that was the end of it. Just another night. Another stranger passing through his life. The next morning, he clocked in at the office building like always. Fixed a leaky sink. Changed light bulbs. Drank bad coffee. Around noon, his supervisor rushed over, looking unusually nervous. Said the building owner and some executives were visiting. Everyone needed to be on their best behavior. Mark rolled his eyes. He planned to stay invisible like he always did. A black SUV pulled up outside. A small group walked in, dressed in tailored suits and expensive coats. And then he saw her. Same eyes. Same face. But now her hair was styled, her posture confident, her coat probably cost more than his monthly rent. For a second he thought he was imagining it. She spotted him across the lobby and stopped walking. Her expression shifted from professional calm to pure recognition. Before he could process anything, she walked straight over, ignoring the executives behind her. She said his name like it mattered. He blinked. Asked what she was doing here. She smiled and explained, almost shyly, that she owned the building. That she'd started the company years ago and kept her position quiet to avoid special treatment. Last night, she'd been driving herself home after a late hospital visit when everything fell apart. He just stared. All night he'd thought she was someone with nothing. Turns out she had more money than he'd see in 10 lifetimes. But none of that had mattered when she was standing alone under that gas station light. She told him she'd never forget that he helped her without knowing who she was. Without expecting anything. Then, right there in front of his confused boss, she thanked him. Really thanked him. A week later, he got called into the office. Thought he was in trouble. Instead, they offered him a new position. Facility supervisor. Better pay. Stable hours. Health insurance. He found out later she'd insisted on it. Not charity, she'd said. Recognition. Months passed. Life slowly got lighter. More dinners with his son. Less late-night driving. Less fear about bills. Sometimes he'd get updates from her too. Ultrasound photos. A message when the baby kicked for the first time. They never talked about money or status. Just two people who'd met on the worst night of their lives and somehow helped each other stand back up. Looking back, it's strange how something small can change everything. A tank of gas. A warm meal. A ride across town. None of it seemed heroic. Just human. But kindness rarely looks dramatic. It shows up in quiet parking lots and late-night diners, in the choice to stop walking and ask, "Are you okay?" That night, he thought he was helping a stranger. He had no idea he was also opening a door for his own future. And maybe that's the real lesson. We don't help people because of who they are or what they might give us. We help because someone is cold, or hungry, or scared, and we can do something about it. So the next time you see someone standing alone under a flickering light, wondering where to go, maybe be the one who stops. You never know whose life you might change. And if you've ever been on either side of a moment like that, share your story in the comments. Kindness spreads faster than we think, one small act at a time.